Did you ever see the rise before the fall? I think I broke something. Oh, that's it. Oh, that's good. Did you ever see the rise before the fall? What up, B2B? What up, brother man? I think I broke something. Hold on, is that the right thing? Bam, bam, bam. Live chat. What up, Ken? Welcome back, brother. Live. Is that correct? Yes, live. On, off, boom, boom. Welcome back, my friend. La, 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 la. Okay. Make sure I got enough water. Delicious. Right now, I'll tell you. Current time and temperature. It's 7:20 p.m. and it's 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna be in and out Saturday. Yeah, brother. That's all right. Yeah. Where are you at, Ken? Japan, I think you said, or at least I got some yens or something. Where are you, tell me? Can you picture all? Have you ever seen the rise before the fall? Let's see. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Let's do this real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Back, you, me. That's not me. Oh, I didn't go to the right place. There we go. Go to the right place. There we go. There we go. Boom, boom. Good evening. Oops, there we go. Let's get the like button up here. Please. I got one. Let's get this here. Pause. Share Discord. YouTube, kick, send. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry, I've been slow. What am I missing? Good evening. You're in Japan, Ken? Let's look at one of the cities. Give me a good city to look at. And I'm missing something here. La. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see what we gotta look at. Bam. 21 traveled. Wow, look at that. That's pretty freaking cool. I guess cherry blossoms. Mount Fuji. That's okay. You can speak Japanese in the chat. It will translate it for me. If you type Japanese in the chat, it will translate. Let's see. Bam. Are you ready?
言語を入力すると翻訳されます。言語を入
What's up, Katra? Yeah, if you type it in here to the chat, yeah, it'll translate it. Okay. Where's Cowboy? Yeah, you guys were the first three. Let's see. Let's find something interesting. On February 4th, 2000, Asha Jacquille Degree, a 9-year-old from Shelby, North Carolina, United States, disappeared after leaving her family's home during the early morning hours. For reasons that remain unknown, she packed a book bag and walked along North Carolina Highway 18 in heavy rain. YouTube can't speak Japanese? Yes, it can. Try to type it in. Try to type. What's up, Cole? Welcome. Missing for 26 years, 3 months, 1 day. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Ow. 1 second. Let me get that. Okay. Okay, what did I miss here? Asha Jacquille Degree. Let's see. Tiki missing. Okay, dark green Lincoln Continental Mark 5 degree. Hold on, we're gonna look it up. We're gonna look it up.
More on that to come, of course. Tonight, the family named as suspects in the Aisha Degree case are sharing their side for the first time. You might remember in September, Roy and Connie Dedman were listed as suspects with 5 properties connected to them being searched.
That's right, but tonight no one has been charged in the case, and of course, Aisha is still missing. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke with the Dedman spokesperson about what they say the family is being threatened.
Yeah, it's been 25 years of questions, rumors, and heartbreak. And tonight, the family, who once owned the properties and the car at the center of last year's search, says they've been quiet long enough.
Frustrated, and they're angry, and they're scared.
25 long years, and still no answers. Last September, a search warrant brought investigators to 5 properties across Cleveland, Lincoln, and Mecklenburg counties, owned by the Dedman family. The Cleveland County Sheriff's Office says one key aspect of the search, this green AMC Rambler thought to be connected to Aisha's disappearance.
They didn't own the car at the time Aisha disappeared.
Records show the family didn't take ownership of the car until 1 month.
She went missing 25 years ago. A girl went missing, lost. She got either ran away or was kidnapped 25 years ago. And they just, I guess, searched the parents' properties last year.
After Aisha went missing.
The whole community has this theory of the crime. There's been threats. There's been people calling them horrible names.
The Dedman says since then they've been targets of hate, and this has gone too far. And while investigators continue to comb through evidence, the Degree family is still waiting for that one piece that could bring closure to years of heartache. Now, this is still an active investigation, and the reward for information leading to an arrest on this case now sits at $100,000. In Cleveland County, Anna King, WCNC Charlotte.
$100,000, yeah. Damn, that's crazy. All right. And that's not these stories are not rare. There's tens of thousands of kids. How many kids go missing every year? Half a million. 460,000 kids every year in the United States alone. 2,300 kids a day. That's crazy. Yeah. This is why you've got to make sure the borders stay tight, because people don't understand that slavery is bigger now than it ever has been. Child trafficking, sex trafficking, drug laundering, money laundering, drug. It's all bigger now than it has ever been. And just because they don't talk about it on the news, just very rare cases to say, oh, that's horrible, this one girl. But no, it's millions and millions and millions of people. I accidentally stained my nails hot pink. Whoops. Adrenochrome, yeah, probably. Listen, I don't disregard that as a conspiracy theory. I think there, and if it's not for, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. Beef jerky. I mean, this was 25 years ago. There wasn't air tags back then, but they definitely should. They definitely should. Yeah, they definitely should. All right, let's see. Unbelievable moments caught on camera. No, let's find something good. But just transplanted almost everything?
And
What happened?
Vanished forever, never to be seen again. Creatures so rare, the only proof they existed is a single specimen, from single sightings in remote jungles to 16-foot whales. Today, we're diving into 5 more animals that have only been seen once, starting with the spade-toothed whale. A full-sized whale, something that grows to around 16 or 17 feet long, and no one has ever seen one alive. Everything we know about this animal comes from individuals that have washed up dead on beaches.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely is. Why do you think the mobster part of the government only want their own people in charge of police, the judge, trial judges, and whatnot? So if people start to get caught, they can just say, oh, no, we're not going to press charges. We're not even going to look into it. Everything's okay. Right? Crime's not down. Crime reporting is down. You can put on Bryan Cranston roller skating, my vegetable and such. My vegetables and such. Oh, the 20 gallon. Yeah, you could absolutely. You don't even need 20 gallons. You don't even need 20 gallons. You can easily do 5 gallons. You saw the. Did you saw, oh, you didn't see the earlier stream, but I have a bunch of them growing in 5 gallon buckets, dozens. And you can get plenty off of it. That's why I was soaking peat moss for my perlite. Pine bark compost. Oh, gotcha. People. Puppets. And yes, man, like Cash, Beef Patty Patel doesn't give a damn. Yeah, that's why you need to run, brother. You need to run.
There have only been about
office.
7 confirmed specimens ever found to date. And these specimens have mostly been turning up around New Zealand and one all the way over in Chile. The very first record goes all the way back to 1872, when someone found a lower jaw on a remote island. And even then, scientists didn't realize what they had, since they thought it belonged to a completely different species of whale. Then, over the course of a few years, more and more bones started washing up on the beaches around New Zealand, and it wasn't until scientists actually ran DNA tests that they realized all of these remains belonged to the same species, a whale that no one had ever seen in the flesh.
Dolphin.
And then, in 2010, something crazy happened. When a mother and calf washed up dead on a beach in New Zealand. It was only then when DNA testing came back and confirmed those were spade-toothed whales. Scientists literally had the animal and didn't even know what it was.
Whale.
Now, in terms of what the cetacean actually looks like, it's got that classic beaked whale shape that's built for deep diving. But the weirdest part are the teeth. The males have these huge spade-shaped teeth that stick out from the lower jaw, hence its namesake, and they can get to around 9 inches long. Scientists believe that these whales use these teeth for fighting other males down in the depths, which is just crazy to think about. And speaking of deep, that's probably the reason we've never seen one alive.
Oh, look, it's one of
Beaked
the
whales
ladies
are
from
some of the
View on the
best
screen.
divers on the planet. They can stay underwater for hours and dive to depths of nearly 10,000 feet, which is almost like 2 miles down in complete pitch black darkness. So if the species spends most of its life down there, well, then it makes perfect sense why we've never seen one alive. The most recent specimen, found just 2 years ago, was the first time scientists could properly study a fresh, intact specimen. And even then, they were still figuring things out. When they dissected it, the scientists found things like 9 separate stomachs with
got a
squid
nice
beaks
one.
inside,
I don't
which
think
all
people
pointed to
believe
the whale
dinosaurs
being a
to be called
deep-sea
dino
hunter.
deniers.
But still, they were still left with no real answers about how this whale actually lives. And that's what makes this so crazy. We're not talking about some tiny fish or insect. This is a massive whale, and we still know almost nothing about it. So with so little sightings, the question is it still out there? Well, 100%, since they are such cryptic deep water animals living so deep, and the fact that they're quite intelligent animals, I'm fairly certain that somewhere in the deep South Pacific, there's probably a whole population of these things just living their lives completely unnoticed. And until the day we finally
I'm absolutely
see
not a dino denier. I'm not. I'm just. I have a problem with the aging of them.
one alive, the spade-toothed whale remains a whale we've only ever seen after it was already dead. Next up, a shark that looks more like a stingray and might be one of the rarest sharks on Earth. Meet the Philippines angel shark. Now, angel sharks are already some of the most alien sharks in the world.
Yeah, I know that we have dinosaurs. We're finding dinosaurs that still have meat on them, and we're finding dinosaurs lately that still smell of rot. But the way that we age dinosaurs isn't by their parts. We age them by the rock next to where the parts are found. The problem is that we've now found that that's absolutely unreliable to the millions and millions of years. So it might be like between 24 and 75 million years old, but we got no idea because we don't have a rock that we know is 75 million years old that we could compare to the, that's all a bunch of stuff coming down. I deliver packages for Amazon DSP 3 days a week, and I had to rest every 5 minutes. I would be done. Yeah. No, you can't. You need some stamina, brother. But that's definitely going to be heavy work. Call them Dino deniers, because I'm sure they exist. Yeah, they absolutely exist. You have dinosaurs in your backyard. That's right. Big lizard in my backyard.
Massive wings like coral fins that make them look more like rays than sharks. They hunt by sitting still rather than endlessly moving and suction prey into their huge mouths with rays.
Wow, that looks like a manta ray and a shark mixed together, like it squashed a shark. Dinosaurs exist in another dimension. Every once in a while, it merges with this one. It jumps through.
Sharp teeth. It's this sitting and hiding in the sand that makes this rare ambush predator so hard to find. I can tell you from experience of having dove with them in Japan and in California. Witnessing their behavior, I'll tell you they are so fascinating. They're super chill, perfectly camouflaged, and then suddenly lightning fast when they strike. Ask me how I know, because our friend Andy Murch actually got bitten by a clouded angel shark when we were there. But while these species may be relatively abundant, the Philippines angel shark is only known from a single specimen, and this was a small, immature female measuring just over a foot long. It had this greenish-brown body covered in darker spots outlined in pale edges with subtle black markings near its dorsal fins. For an angel shark, this is pretty standard camouflage that's designed to help it completely disappear on the seafloor.
I like to see, I don't like to go down 100 feet. I'm more interested in basically like you would call it snorkel depth diving. Thing that sucks about snorkeling is you dive down a little bit and then you're like, oh, you see something cool, but then you got to come up for air and then try to go back down again to see it. That's why I like shallow depth dive.
Individual was discovered in 1995 on the 23rd of September during a deep sea trawl off the coast of Luzon in the Philippines at depths of over 1,200 feet. That's way down on the outer continental shelf in a dark, cold environment that we barely ever explore. At first glance, scientists actually thought it was just another similar-looking species, the Taiwan angel shark. But years later, after taking a closer look at its features, such as the spacing of its spiracles, the shape of its fins, and a few subtle differences,
I did it in Key
they
West
realized
one
it
time,
was a completely new species of angel shark.
Yeah, and, like, we used to snorkel as kids because my dad was a scuba diver. My dad, my mom, my sister were avid scuba divers, and me and my brother would go randomly until finally we got older. Then when we would go, we would do, just say let's just dive. In Mexico, my 8 or 9 year old cousin at the time, I think, forgot what year it was, went snorkeling and touched a barracuda. Bros, like he didn't have a scratch on it. I'm like, yeah, I got bitten in my heel. The heel of my right heel got bit by barracuda. Teeth slit right through the back of my flipper. I had these big bloody footprint when I got back up to the shore. It was like flop, flop, flop. Yeah, freaking gushing.
Officially described for the first time in 2011. Sadly, since then, it's been very, very quiet. There hasn't been a second specimen found, and no one has ever seen it. But does the fact that it hasn't been seen for so long mean it's extinct? Not really. Notoriously, deep-sea species like this are very hard to study. And to make things worse, Philippines angel sharks live in the ocean thousands of feet down where very few surveys actually take place. And angel sharks by nature are masters of camouflage. And like we said before, they literally bury themselves in the sea floor, leaving just their eyes exposed. So even if they are down there, we could be easily missing them. But at the same time, deep sea trolling and long lining is a real concern.
How many hundreds of thousands of other species, we have no clue at all. We've only explored 5% of the oceans. 5%. We thought the black-footed ferret went extinct then a dog in Wyoming brought home dead one there. There you go. Hey, there you go. Yep, there you go.
Concern, since these sharks live right in the zones where fishing nets drag across the sea floor, and if a population was already small to begin with, it wouldn't take much to wipe it out before we even realized it was there. If we were ever going to find the shark again, it would probably be through deep sea surveys using ROVs or BRUDs, or even another accidental troll catch. But until then, the Philippines angel shark remains one of the most mysterious creatures ever caught. A shark seen once and never again. Next up, a highly venomous snake that was discovered completely by accident and has only ever been seen once. This is one of the rarest pit vipers on the planet, hidden deep in the forests of northeast India. Meet the Arunachal pit viper. Now, at first glance, this snake might not look like anything too crazy, since if you look at its top, it's got this brownish, dull coloration that blends perfectly into leaf litter on the forest floor. But along its sides and belly, it's got some glossy, striking reddish-orange color. It's such a weird contrast, and if you ask me, being a herpetologist, it's a pretty sick-looking snake. It gets up to around 26 inches long, and like most pit vipers, this species is also highly venomous, having a potent hemotoxic venom that causes severe pain, bleeding, and tissue damage. The story of its discovery is just as fascinating.
He just said the snake does look crazy.
During a biodiversity survey in Arunachal Pradesh, a researcher named Rohan Pandit and a local guide from the Bungan tribe were hiking through a steep forest near a village when all of a sudden they spotted this brown snake sitting in the leaf litter. At first, they thought it was just another viper, but when they looked at it properly, it didn't quite match anything they'd ever seen before. So, like any sane biologist would, they collected it, brought it back, and took a proper look. And that's when they realized that it was something truly different. After detailed analysis, measuring its scales, studying its anatomy, and even running genetic tests, lo and behold, the scientists confirmed that this was an entirely new species of pit viper. And here's the craziest part. This was the first new pit viper species discovered from India in over 70 years. That's just insane. But since that one sighting, which is almost 10 years ago now, it still remains the only one scientists have ever found. We don't know how many of these snakes exist, we don't fully understand its behavior, and we don't even know if they're ground dwellers. But
some just wandering and some in traps,
I guess you could say that the good news is that the forest where it was found is still relatively intact. It's incredibly steep, hard to access, and only lightly disturbed by humans, which means there's a very real chance that more of these snakes are out there, but just that no one is crazy enough to go there and look for one. And honestly, that's probably the reason we haven't seen it again. Pit vipers are masters of staying hidden, and that's exactly like the copperheads, cottonmouths, and rattlesnakes that we have in the US. You could literally walk past one and never even realize it was there. If we're ever going to find the species again, it'll come down to more surveys in these remote forests, slowly flipping leaf litter, scanning the ground, maybe even working with local communities who know the land better than anyone. But until then, the Arunachal pit viper remains one of the most mysterious snakes in the entire world, seen once and then gone. Next up, a tiny, bizarre-looking seahorse that no one has ever seen alive in the wild, and might be one of the strangest seahorses that's ever been discovered, somewhere off the deep coast of Australia. Meet the bullneck seahorse. Now, seahorses are already pretty weird looking, but this one takes it to another level. Fully grown, they're only about 2 inches long, but what makes this one stand out is its shape. It's got this unusually wide, thick neck, a short, stubby face, and a body that looks quite off compared to other seahorses. In fact, scientists even named it Minotaur because of that oversized head compared to its tiny body. It's believed to have a yellow-orange coloration, which scientists think help it to blend into deep-sea coral or sandy seabeds. And like other seahorses, it likely uses its tail to wrap around things like corals or seaweed, anchoring itself in place as currents pass by. But here's the thing, that's all just educated guesses, because no one has ever actually seen one in its natural habitat. The only known specimens were collected off the coast of Eden, New South Wales, Australia, by deep-sea trawling nets. They were officially described in 1997, and since those few individuals were brought up, nothing. Now, the running theory among scientists is that this seahorse lives over 3,200 feet deep, and maybe even deeper. That's well beyond where most divers go, and when you combine that with the fact that this thing is absolutely tiny, it's easy to see how it could just completely slip under the radar. However, scientists fear that deep-sea trawling has heavily impacted parts of the ocean floor in that region. And if this species depends on specific habitat, like coral beds or untouched seabeds, then those areas could have easily been damaged before we even knew the seahorse existed. What's really interesting, though, is that local fishing communities in Australia actually remember this animal. Some fishermen claim they saw it decades ago.
It's very interesting. So the male has... And the female have sex, and the egg starts in the female, then it's transferred to the male, where the gestation happens, and then birth happens. Like the blobfish get called ugly, even though the version people call it ugly have origins that exploded from the pressure change. Yep, that's right. They took it out of its habitat. Prague Earl.
Ago, describing that same thick neck and short snout. And that's kind of crazy because
look
there's
how small that little fin is on its back.
Communities describing that same
look how small that is compared to the whole rest of its body. It's just that little, like, that's how it gets around. Seahorse is the only organism where the male carries young, unless you're talking to Democrats, because they tell us today. Yeah, that's right. Yep. The blobfish, yeah. Blobfish. There you go. So that's the blobfish, and when it's outside of water, after it's come up and it's basically folded inside out. But this is what it looks like down here. This is what it looks like normally. And then pressure differential causes that to happen. I'm going to ask Cowboy if he would do this for me if we were seahorses. Therefore, Democrats are seahorses. Dun, 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 dun. Or seahorses are Democrats, or both.
Thick neck and short snout. And that's kind of crazy because there's barely anything about the species in scientific literature, yet people still recognize it. So how would we
it does look like an alcoholic fish.
It's not going to be easy. You'd need to use things like ROVs, BRUGs, maybe eDNA testing. But the hopeful part is that other deep-sea species and even seahorse relatives have had similar stories. The ruby sea dragon, for example, went unseen for years.
The female gets pregnant, and then it transfers the fertilized egg to the male. The male gestates in the male, and the male delivers it. That's correct. What up, Nubsy? Long time, brother.
until scientists actually went looking for it properly, and then suddenly they found it. So maybe, just maybe, the bullneck seahorse is still out there. Until then, this little tiny seahorse remains as a species that's only ever been pulled up by trawlers, but never seen in the wild. Guys, you know that I love rare and extinct animals. That's why I do videos like this, but I also love just generally having adventures. And now that I'm a dad with 2 young boys, I like sharing those adventures with my family. Now, I don't want to plaster my kids all over the internet, which is why I've started an amazing Patreon where some of the most incredible adventures that my family and I go on together are available. Check out the Patreon. It is wholesome, family viewing, very educational, highly about family life on the road. I take my family to Africa, to Central America, to South America, to Asia, all kinds of incredible places on amazing adventures and expeditions that never make it here on YouTube. So go and check out the Patreon right now. Let's talk about our next super rare animal. Now, this next animal might be one of the most mysterious monitor lizards on the planet.
It's funny they tell us how you define pregnancy.
This is a species of monitor lizard that's found on the island of Halmahera in Indonesia, in a place
they wanted to destroy the education system so it could be rebuilt, just like they defund the police so that it crashes. So then they had to rebuild the police force, but then with their own people. It's just they wanted to take as much money from it as possible because it costs so much for kids when they go through the surgeries and stuff to have them all undone or try to and all that. Can I get pregnant from using public bathrooms? Yep. Ask my ex-girlfriend. Just kidding. Those kids are having a fun childhood, right? Absolutely. Freaking Tara.
It's already been known for hiding some seriously weird and unique reptiles. And like most monitor lizards, you'd probably be expecting the species to be quite active and maybe even seen by locals from time to time. But this one is different. Zug's monitor is only known from a single specimen, which was a juvenile that was found all the way back in 1980. And get this, the specimen wasn't even recognized or identified for that fact. It actually sat in a museum for many, many years until scientists later realized that this wasn't anything they'd ever seen before. And when you look at it, it's actually pretty cool looking. The only known individual measured 14.2 inches long. But since that one specimen was collected over 40 years ago, there's been basically nothing. No confirmed sightings in the wild, no photos, and scientists still don't know what it eats, how it lives, or even where exactly it spends most of its time. But the most interesting thing is that there has been a couple of reports coming in from locals claiming that they've seen something similar in different parts of the island. But these reports have never been verified. And that's actually crazy when you think about it. This is a monitor lizard, an active lizard on an island where they've potentially been collected not just for science, but for the pet trade. And for them to completely disappear like this, it's honestly kind of hard to even wrap your head around. But then again, the island of Halmahera is covered in dense tropical rainforest that's full of steep terrain, remote valleys, and areas that are still barely explored. And that's what makes this one so interesting. Because unlike the animals we've talked about before, this isn't a place that's been heavily developed or completely overrun by humans. So all the usual reasons we see animals disappear don't really apply here. And because of that, it actually makes it a lot harder to believe that this animal just simply went extinct. But over the years, scientists have actually discovered multiple new monitor lizard species in this region alone. So the idea that something like this could still be hiding out there is still not that far-fetched. If we're ever going to find Zug's monitor again, which I think is still not that far.
Look how its eye looks almost human. Let me zoom in here. It's so crazy. Oops, too small. Yeah, these are reptiles. Yep. Democrats and leftists tell us that Joe Biden was fine when he was obviously walking in circles, talking gibberish, pooping himself. Then he said, "Yep, if you believe that, they got something to sell you." Yep, I agree.
Far-fetched. If we're ever going to find Zug's monitor again, which I think is very realistic, it would take proper field surveys where you're working with local communities and tribes, not just setting up trail cameras, but trekking and expeditioning through the jungle to look for signs of this monitor before potentially catching one at night and using it. But until that day comes where the expedition goes out, Zug's monitor remains one of the strangest...
Oh, that's part of our lizard brain. And I don't actually think we've got reptilian brains either. So like I was taught in high school that our appendix was left over vestigial organ from when we were reptiles. And then now we're like, oh, never mind, they're not. It's not a vestigial organ. We actually need it. What up, Julio? David Icke would disagree. Yes, he would. But hello. But not all the same saw or amygdala. The amygdala. I was being funny. Because people like Mark look around. He does look like a lizard. David Icke never said that human beings like himself are reptiles. He does not claim that a reptile. He said that maybe reptilians among us.
Reptile mysteries out there. Only seen once and never again. Hey, I hope you guys want to watch more than this video once and never again. So if you do, please subscribe to the channel because it helps us keep making these very informative and educational
100%.
videos.
Absolutely. Our gut health 100% is I'm going to show you something real quick, Jose. Look. And this is actually like one of the biggest things I talk about is this. What up, Cole? Hello, chap. He is a reptile. Democrat teachers are no different than Fred Phelps. Science hates straight people. Yep. So look, check this out. So okay. So vitamin deficiency and depression. Or vitamin deficiency and mental health. Okay, here, hold on. Vitamin deficiency and mental health. Okay, here you go. Vitamin deficiency can directly cause, mimic, or worsen psychiatric symptoms like depression, anxiety, brain fog, and fatigue. Key vitamins, particularly B vitamins and D, are essential for synthesizing mood-regulating neurotransmitter like serotonin and dopamine. So without your gut working properly, and like if your guts aren't working properly, you're just chewing food and turning it into poop. You're not absorbing the vitamins and minerals out of your food. So it absolutely connects to mental health. Wizard. The governor. Yes, the gut health is directly connected to mental health, but depends on how much a person's affected them. Yeah. Lex Friedman made Zuckerberg completely a CAPTCHA test before their interview. Funny part is Friedman couldn't complete one himself. What up, Santiago? Welcome back, brother. They want to give the anal waste of people in pills. Yes. So it's called a fecal transplant, right? And only 3% of Americans have healthy enough gut flora or guts in order to take them to take fecal transplants from fecal donations for fecal transplants, right? Absolutely. So this experiment on making fast foods and shelf stable foods and stuff like that, ultra processing has when we eat that, it destroys our guts. And then we can't absorb nutrition from it. Then people get very sick and mental health goes out the window. Diet and sleep play a huge role in schizophrenia episodes. So yeah, absolutely. And 80% of schizophrenics show test positive for parasites like Toxoplasmosis gondii. Does anyone else in here ever go to Panda Express? Yeah, I used to love it. I used to love it all the time, but I don't eat nothing like that no more. The word fecal transplant while I'm eating, hell yeah. Yeah, that's not. We don't have any. You don't have any in Canada. Get wrecked. Fecal transplant, no matter how crazy it sounds, is a better way. Yeah, no, 100%. But so this is why you should make sure that you eat things that keep your gut healthy and do not do anything bad to your guts by eating especially emulsifiers. It'll destroy your gut health. What's up, fantastic fingerman? Panda Express is fast food Chinese. Yep. Ate dim sum. Yeah, but like most of my life for like 35 years, I was on all kinds of medications for mental health issues, depression, anxiety, ADHD. And then it wasn't until I was 45 I started taking vitamin B12 and my all that stuff went away. It went away like within a month. I had no issues, but within the first hour, I noticed a huge difference. The first time I took sublingual B12, yeah. So yeah, and this is why I think that we should start, and what I'm actually doing, one of my projects is I want to make sure that we have like every school in America has vitamin and mineral, like what vitamins and minerals are in what foods, like what you need to get what you need to get the different B's, C, D, E, and K. Because that's what I think. That's why I think we have one of the reasons I think we have such a mental health issue in America is because people think that the wrong way about diet. Especially Panda Express low cost. Also, the quality is pretty good. You can get 3 for less than $12. Wow, that's really good. I haven't eaten it in years, but I loved it. I used to love it all the time. Yeah, with noodles and rice. If I want to get free side and also do a survey. Yeah, and they used to have free samples. I love dim sum. I haven't had it in years either. I loved it too. So always get the free side of walnut shrimp, and I usually get lemon honey due to beef broccoli. What up, Space Cow? $11.16. Tree fitty. There's your cowboy. Panda Express isn't exactly traditional Chinese food restaurants. Yeah. It's Americanized, right? Most people don't know the difference of Asians. I agree. Most people don't. If we were seahorses, would you be pregnant for me? Wackadoos. Yeah, B. I don't. The world. You would be the pregnant one. You would be the one pregnant, and I would be the man. Not with seahorses. I wonder what deep fried battered seahorses might taste like. Crispy, crunchy. I'm hung like a seahorse. I'm hung like a horse. A seahorse. Hey, there's your first T-shirt. Plus, seahorses, the male carries the fetus and delivers the baby. The baby. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Most dangerous insects in the world. Wow.
What if I told you someone spent years of their life building an aircraft specifically because they lost a record to a rival, and then they built an even smaller one, flew it, broke the record, and crashed it, all within 33 days. This is the Star Bumblebee 2. So who is the man behind all this? His name is Robert H. Starr, and he is not someone who comes up much in aviation history, and that is genuinely strange given what he managed to accomplish over the course of his career. He was a World War II veteran. He flew P-40 Warhawks and P-51 Mustangs with the 14th Air Force Flying Tigers in China, which, if you know anything about the Flying Tigers, tells you he was operating in one of the more demanding combat environments of the Pacific War. Long missions, mountainous terrain, limited ground support, and enemy fighters that had been flying those skies considerably longer than the Americans had. By the time the war ended, Starr had already developed the kind of relationship with unusual aircraft and difficult flying conditions that most pilots simply never get close to. Over the decades that followed, he logged over 15,000 hours across everything.
I take a lot of vitamins and minerals, and I drink very, very filtered water. But yeah, I am very scientific about how I dose my vitamins and my minerals. I've got this is just what's next to me. And that's not even all of them. I still and so I make all my own. If you look on my website, 110thgrade.com, get you a shirt and you can see the vitamins and minerals that I take. Okay. All right. Oh, no, I'm way far behind. Jeez. There's really good yogurt called Ratio. Best flavor I've ever had. Strawberry cheesecake's incredible. Yeah, it sounds good to me. I like strawberry cheesecake. What's up, Thadiel? Transylvania Air Truck. Fecal transplant is a procedure to collect feces from a healthy donor and shows the gastrointestinal tract involves ingesting a fecal-laced dissolvable pill. Yeah, so they have that. One method of capsules containing freeze-dried donor stool inside dissolvable pills are swallowed orally. Other than crude colonoscopy, enema, That's true. And so they also have a robot pill that when you swallow it, it starts to go through your intestines, and then when an outside sensor, it's like a magnetic sensor outside of your body, when it gets there, it clicks open and it releases the goo. Guess who's back in the pocket with 10K? What up, Monk? 15 supplements, usually about 9 a day, and about 15 throughout the week. I take a lot of B12, yep, and B69. I've got methylene blue. I take methylene blue also. It makes me unstoppable at my dumb job. Yeah, no, it's great. Great stuff. I take methylene blue. I take it with orange juice to help absorption, and I take it, I add vitamin A, vitamin K2, and Lugol solution, iodine, to it. That's my methylene blue and classical music all day. The radio, help things properly flow. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yep, I dosed that too.
From Piper Cubs to F-86
you gotta help the mitochondria.
He flew aerobatics at air shows across the United States. He worked as a test pilot for experimental aircraft. And in 1949, he became the only pilot capable of flying an experimental micro-aircraft called the JR. That last detail is worth sitting with for a moment. Other pilots tried. The aircraft broke. That tells you something about
Yes, emulsifiers are the problem, yes. We can find out. If you're having problems, concentration, I would suggest methylene blue, ultra methylene blue diet. Right. So and vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is the so you need methylene blue at a cellular level. But if you're having problems concentrating, vitamin B12 deficiency is the #1 cause for it. Now methylene blue can help that out, but you should be able to have that fixed without the methylene blue in your body, and that's where B12 will help. Vitamin B12 deficiency and brain fog. Vitamin is a common reversible cause of brain fog characterized by memory issues, poor concentration, and mental fatigue. It causes low B12, disrupts nerve insulation. Yeah, that's what this is right here. And that's sublingual, so it doesn't have to go through your intestines. If your gut lining's messed up, you can't absorb a lot of those vitamins and minerals anyway. You're just turning them into poop. So you want something that'll absorb through your skin or through your mouth. My favorite asset is you have $400 of XRP and it just sits there and does nothing. Yep. Well, just hold on to it, brother. Next thing you know, it'll be 10 years and it'll be $10,000. I get banned in every chat.
He then helped build and fly the fast food once a month in 1954.
Yeah, you definitely can't eat it daily. You have to make sure your body has enough time to heal from it, because it definitely is. GABA operates. That's okay. GABA. I got your GABA right here, brother. I got your GABA right here. GABA. I got your GABA. GABA operates by binding specific proteins on the nerve cells called GABA receptors. When GABA attaches these receptors, it decreases the neuron's ability to receive, create, or send chemical signals. Right? It calms the brain. It calms neurotransmitter activity, neuron activity. They don't serve you. Basketball here again. Yeah. So my manager did. He said you were too racist. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Did you play Minecraft, Katra? Did you get your milk? If you share yours with me, the German version.
7 feet 2 inches, and it set a new world record for the smallest piloted aircraft. Starr was there for the construction, and he was the one who flew it. And for a while, he felt the recognition he received for that contribution was not quite proportional to what he had put in. That frustration matters because it explains why the bumblebee happened at all.
Right. No, definitely. So, without a doubt, if you really want to look into it, look outside of American scientific data. Look at what the Chinese are doing. I want your milk.
Starr had a falling out with Ray Stitz, the designer behind the Sky Baby. The exact nature of the disagreement is not fully documented, and neither
Wait,
man
cowboy,
left a
I feel
particularly
that's an important
detailed
question.
account
What's your
of
favorite
what went wrong
percentage of
between
cow's
them.
milk?
What is clear is that Starr felt his
give you
contributions
bulls
to the early small aircraft projects had not been properly recognized, and that the falling out with Stitz was serious enough that the two men went their entirely separate ways. When the two went separate ways, Starr decided he was going to build his own aircraft, establish his own record, and
He
this
likes
time have his
2%.
name on it without
I don't know, but I
ambiguity.
don't think I have
It took
any
him
cows
several
right
years
now.
of work in his Phoenix, Arizona workshop, but in January of 1984,
cousin named
he
Ray.
got there. The Bumblebee One,
Ray
a biplane with a wingspan of 6 feet 6 inches and a length of 9 feet 4 inches, flew at Marana Airport and claimed the Guinness record for the world's smallest piloted aircraft. Then, 7 months later, a man named Donald Stitz flew
if you have
away
a
with
male
the title.
dog in your
Donald
house-
Stitz was Ray Stitz's son. He had been building a monoplane called the Baby Bird since around 1980, and in August of 1984, it made its first flight at Camarillo, California, with pilot Harold Niemer at the controls. The Baby Bird had a wingspan of 6 feet 3 inches, 3 inches narrower than the Bumblebee One. Its length was 11 feet, which was actually longer than Starr's aircraft. But Guinness assessed overall size using multiple measurements, and by enough of those criteria, the Baby Bird came out smaller. The record moved. For Starr, this
Who
was
has the
apparently
money to
one
do this
frustration
stuff?
too many. He went back to the workshop, and this time, the aircraft he built was going to be so clearly and unambiguously small that nobody could find a reasonable argument against it. The Bumblebee, too, that came out of that workshop was a biplane, like its predecessor, with what is called negative stagger. That means the lower wing was set slightly forward of the upper wing rather than
Jeez.
behind it, which is the opposite of how most biplanes are configured. The fuselage was built from welded steel tubing covered in sheet metal, and the wings were covered in
That's a different
aircraft-grade
stuff.
plywood.
I haven't
Both
seen this
wings
South
were
Park in a
fitted
long
with
time.
tip plates at the
I
ends.
have seen that,
These
yes, the
are
Red
small
Rocket one,
vertical
yes,
surfaces
the
attached
Red Rocket
to
one,
each
I remember
wingtip.
that.
Their job is to
20 bucks
reduce
says
the
the plane
vortex
can
that
talk to
forms at
Pixar
the
language
tip
to
of
the
any
guns, dumb
finite
friends,
wing,
dumb shit.
where the high-pressure air below
Yeah, the
tries
Red
to
Rocket
curl
one, I
around
remember.
and meet the low-pressure air above.
Like a
By
beach
blocking
stagger
some of
wing.
that curl, the tip plates improved the effective lift of the small wing area and made the aircraft more manageable in flight. This was not a stylistic choice. Without them, the wing loading on an aircraft this small would have pushed the handling towards something genuinely unworkable. The choice of biplane over monoplane was also deliberate. Two smaller wings allowed Starr to distribute the total wing
you ever
area
wonder
in a
why
way that
animals,
kept the
just eat
wingspan
food
down
that
while
make
still
cows eat grass
generating
and
enough
have to
lift
do
for the
anything
weight.
about that.
A monoplane
So cows don't actually live off of grass. Let me explain. Cows put grass in their mouth and chew grass. They go that goes into one of their stomachs, gets regurgitated back into their mouth, and makes a cud that goes back down into one of their stomachs, then into the next. Bacteria start to eat and reproduce. So the cow's not eating the grass. The bacteria in the cow is eating the grass, and it makes a whole shit ton of bacteria. The cow ends up eating that bacteria. That big old ball of bacteria is where the cows get their protein from, because there's no protein in grass. So that's where the meat from a cow comes from. It's not from the grass. It's from the grass creating an area in the cow to create trillions and trillions of bacteria that then move into the cow's final stomach, that the cow then eats the bacteria. So that's why that is. Yeah. Last time I had them was my birthday. My dad asked me what I wanted to eat for my birthday. I wasn't expecting much. Then I had my sister to show against them. But then he started eating them, and I was like, wait, I don't get 40 of these myself. It's lit. How are you over? They got 4 stomachs because they're retarded. Yep, they do. I remember when my church tried to compare cow eating grass over and over again to religion somehow. I was like, what don't offend cows. They're the pride of Wisconsin. Yes, but farmers also use cattle feed. Yeah, right. Well, that's why. But you ever see what happens with especially with grain? Their guts eat too much, and it creates too much gas, and then they've got to like stab a needle into the side of it and release a bunch of the methane out. That doesn't happen off of grass. It's because we feed them so much grain that is the issue. I'm waiting on my nightly cows. The fact is, in winter, the farmers have to put out because the cows can't. Yeah, no, right. I understand that. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it doesn't do it. I'm just saying that's the way cows work. That's the way cows work, right? And then when you feed them things that they wouldn't normally eat, like corn, then they get gassy. Cowboys, jeez. Yeah, hay, yep. Hay and straw. They lay in straw and eat the hay, or backwards. They eat the straw and lay in. No, eat the hay and lay in straw. Right. We call Elizabethan collar a Philippine snow cone. The Elizabethan collar, yeah. Probably. Dear Aces says one. No, brother. No, he went back over all your stuff. The dude asked you to stop, and you said it like 18 more times. He blocked you, and then you kept going. Yeah. We have a gang of them, and the bastards used to chase him. And then you had the German painter thing. Yeah. So yeah, you had to go. We had a gang of them. The bastards used to chase me when I'd walk through their pastures to take shortcuts. It's a good thing that DMT only lasts 10 or 15 minutes, because if it lasted longer, you might end up in a psych ward. I will be eating soon. If I disappear, I'm chomping down on the nutrients. What did cows eat in the old days in winter then? They slept, dude. Let's see. Well, remember, we brought cows around. Like a lot of cows, usually they would migrate in front of the winter. They were like in front of the snowfall and stuff and follow. But let's see. Before farms, what did cows eat? Oops, wrong button. Before farms, what did cows eat in winter? Before organized farms, they would rely on dead, dried grasses, nosed through the snow, and eat dormant plants and browsed on tree bark, twigs, and moss. In milder climates, they grazed in cool season grasses that stayed green. Because they're ruminants, the early cattle would easily digest tough, fibrous plants through the wintry diet. Glory Gold. Hello. Cowboy is a food kink. Did my good deed for the year, and I gave my mother-in-law a shit ton of plants in our green garden room. Sadly, the plants will probably die. No, I'm not a German painter. He wasn't a German. If you don't have any cow's milk in your house and you need to drink some milk, you can get some dog milk if you have a male dog. I'm sure whatever they could. Hold on. Did they pay Tracy Guns to leave Guns N' Roses for having bad acne? Do I think they did? I have no clue. That's the first I've heard of it. Cows aren't wild animals. They need to have diet supplement in the wintertime. If they were free roaming, they would eat all sort of vegetation, yeah.
With the same total wing area would have needed either a longer wingspan or a very short, very wide cord. Both created problems Starr didn't want to deal with. Here is where the dimensions become genuinely difficult to visualize if you haven't seen photographs. The wingspan of the Bumblebee 2 was 5 feet and 6 inches. If you are of average height and you stretch your arms out fully, your arm span will
cows
be
are
around
not
5
wild
feet, 8
animals.
inches.
If they were,
So
they would
you,
not make
standing
vegetation
with your
during
arms
winter all the
out,
time.
would be
All the
wider than
shots
this
and sort of
aircraft.
things that they
Not
kept
by
in closed
much,
fields
but
and
wider.
supplemental.
The length of the fuselage was 8 feet.
I agree. If we're talking about cattle, in farm situations, yeah, that's completely different. Then we bring food to them, but in natural environments, they follow the food. This old man and me were at the bar and we were having us some beers and swapping I don't cares, talking about blonde and redhead chicks, old dogs, new tricks, habits we ain't kicked. Oh yeah, who is that? That country singer? I can't remember his name. Georgia guy. We talked about God's grace and the hell he raised, and the old man saying God's great, beer is good, people are crazy. That's it. And anyone that says they don't talk politics, one of the shallow and vapid alcoholic word salad dummies win and she lost. If you say you don't want to talk politics, that's code for saying you're a Democrat and a leftist and you're too dumb to talk about it. And you want her to win and she lost. She lost. No, not George Strait. No. Was it Billy Currington? Billy Currington, yeah. People that don't vote are too dumb to understand what's at stake. It's a good thing that dummies don't vote, because when they do vote, they vote Democrat, right? Right. Well, that's so what's the issue? Kids don't know what's going on. They're taught this, and they're only taught one side, and that's the problem. The problem is they're taught in school now that they need to be the ones to help save the world, and they need to save the world from anything besides what they're doing. If anyone has... Yeah, but was it really because of acne? Let's see. Why did Tracy Guns leave Guns N' Roses? Let's see. Was fired for some childish behavior at their shows. He was hiding behind the amps and messing up songs. How would I regret when half the band's name is my name? I'm arguably their biggest fan of all times. Yeah, that sounds like Cope. Humans are the problem, and sea cows. The manatee, manatee's the sea cow, right? What up, Ahmed? Everyone is trying to save the world. I think if less people tried to save the world would be infinitely better. Right. And this is why. The reason is because people aren't informed enough. They think because they hear something in the walls of an institution that it's the truth. And it's very far from that these days. So, but imagine being one of the guys that could write the books that kids learn, and you're like, if I can get them to think this way and do this, I can move my money this way, and when they come out, they'll be buying what we want them to buy, and they'll be voting the way we want them to vote. Yeah. Kids today can't do basic math. They can tell you all 72 genders. Yep. Worst thing is I can get from making out as mono or strep throat. Mononucleosis. Save the World Now. Save the World Now on sale. Rage Against the Machine shirts, $25.95, made in China. Yep. The truth can be easily found on the internet. It can be. They just don't do it. What up, Mahad? The world isn't worth saving. The world's worth saving, yeah. I'm good. Yeah, the world's definitely worth saving. Definitely. Because we'll be the ones to lose it if we don't save it. I shall be back within the hour.
10 inches. That is roughly the same as a standard parking space. The aircraft would fit inside most people's living rooms with space to spare around the walls. You could lay it diagonally across a tennis court and it would not reach from one tram line to the other. It is.
Perception is huge. We've got to make it worth saving to other people. To me, it's worth saving. Rage Against the Machine required proof of it. Yep, that's right. Absolutely did. If you see this chat, you might get anything from it. Saved a Bumblebee plane. Rage Against the Machine shirt's probably $400, and tickets are probably close to $400.
Is genuinely difficult to hold the image in your head of something that small flying at 165 knots, and yet that is what it did. Empty weight was 396 pounds. To give that a sense of scale, that is roughly the weight of a large touring motorcycle, or about 2.5 adult passengers on a commercial flight. Maximum takeoff weight was 574 pounds, meaning the useful load, everything including the pilot, the fuel, and anything else on board, came to 178 pounds in total. Robert Starr himself was around 200 pounds, which meant that even before any fuel went in, the aircraft was already close to its useful load limit. The fuel load was kept to an absolute minimum as a result, which we will come back to shortly. The engine was a Continental C85, 4 cylinders, air-cooled, horizontally opposed, producing 85 horsepower. This is an engine you would normally find in a conventional
nosebleed, right? Dude, I'm still cut up from like a son of a bitch from the zip line, and falling wasn't bad. Riding without the shirt on was not such a good decision. Yeah, on a homemade one. Skip me. I'm shy. Dun, 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 dun. Bumblebee had a great cousin. I think the truth is everywhere. Just that we need to adjust our mindset to detect it, not let it slide like noise. Yeah. The education and the nutrition side of education needs to be 100% flipped. People need to know that they're the ones that save their lives. Not grow up and then just spend the rest of your life getting sick and paying for health care. That all's got to go. People need to start. Accountability needs to become huge, and the people that break laws need to be jailed for breaking those laws, or if not jailed, they need to be held accountable. Stop talking in terms of truth and opinion and belief, and start talking in terms of logic, reason, and facts. The thing is, I'm on a mission, and I'm on a mission to try to fix as much as I can before I leave. I tried re-uploading the video. I guess the signal was weak. I'll show you as soon as I can. Hilarious. Watching me run into a cable and fall 12 feet. Yeah, tried to do it, brother. Truth is relative. A leftist will always ask you how you feel about something and never ask what you think of something. That's right. William Currington was born 1973, but in 2003 he foolishly signed to Mercury Nashville. Boy, he was born in Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. Yeah, he's a Georgia boy. Raised in Rincon, Georgia, and currently lives in Savannah, Georgia. Nothing like an anti-capitalist superstar charging $2,500 to see a concert. Right, and they do that because they're lying. It's just words coming out of their mouths. They're there to make as much money as possible. And if they got $100,000, $200,000 to put out that, require vaccination status tweet, because they got paid for that tweet or Instagram post or whatever it was. The truth is relative and subjective, and we should operate from an orientation of logic and reason, critical thinking and rational thought rather than orientation to feelings. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to do it again. I don't care about letting braided cable get the best of me. Going tomorrow. Those motorcycles were V-twin air-cooled, and they showed back in the day. John Denver went down. Yep, John Denver did. Absolutely. Vitamins and Catnip acapella will perform at the local community college. Let it be written down. Let it be. Let it be, let it be.
Two-seat trainer, a kind of aircraft used to teach student pilots their first hours. It is a reliable, well-proven unit, but it is not what you would describe as powerful by any meaningful standard. In the Bumblebee 2, it was doing something altogether more remarkable. 85 horsepower in an airframe weighing under 400 pounds empty, with a total wing area of around 35 square feet.
Yes, I think it's possible to know something for sure. No, I don't think everything is probabilistic and relative. Yeah, there's definitely truth. It's definitely an ugly plane. The truth can set you free, but you can't handle the truth. So just live in your glass house of lies and make sure no one throws stones. And that's what people are told to do. Listen, the internet, lying on the internet has become super huge. And then when that became super popular, lying on TV, opinion pieces on television newscasts have done irreparable harm to the people that have grown up in that environment. Things start to change when we first make sure that people don't need the government. They don't need, if we need them not to need them. We don't need to be like people, like everybody should not just be, should think I'm going to be sick this year. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. I'm always, this is going to happen. Getting old means getting sick. Growing up means getting sick, means I need doctors, means I need healthcare. That needs to change. Health needs to be at the forefront of people's minds, and the definition of what that is needs to change. Trump made lying blatantly normalized. Yeah, I mean, he's a politician, but but the important thing is to not need the government, right? The problem is the government wants to be, you need us, no one can do anything without us, and that's got to stop. Ben and Jerry, Tom Morello, hypocrisy, corporate corporate rocky road, now down to local felicity. Yeah, because there's no absolute truth at all. It's called claim absolute truth. So no absolute truth. It's self-contradictory, right? You can always tell a leftist Democrat because they will never talk. They will talk about lies, but never be specific about what the actual lies are. These wackos don't hate Trump because he's a liar. They hate Trump because he tells the truth. And that makes them the lie, and that makes them look like liars. So when lies have been told, I mean, that's what politics is. It's lying to get as far as you can until you get caught, and then not wanting to get caught. So say, hey, please don't believe this person because whatever he says might mean that I was proven to be a liar. Right. That's right. Right. But that's right now. It like we can sit and say, okay, that's the way we're going to live our lives, or we can be the ones to make the change, and you can make the change from within. And I hope that's what will happen. And well, I'm going to be part of that. I'm not just going to talk to people. I'm contacting representatives and setting stuff up over the next couple of years. I will make a difference from outside of the political arena. That's right. All politicians were super honest. Right. Yep. If you ask them to give you an example of a lie Trump told, they'll simply just say he lies about everything. I mean, but that's all of them. That's why I tell people to not break up personal relationships over politics, because we don't know what the truth is. And we haven't caught Trump in lies. We just hear what other people says he lied about, but we replace Trump's name with any politician. The thing is, the people that are trying to change our government to socialist government, they lie about what they can do. Like Mandami cannot do what he said he was going to do. He was just lying. He was just saying words. The fact that Trump is not a politician and he was the one that not try to assassinate him. If he was one of them, they would not try to assassinate him. Donald Trump. Wackos want him to be taken out, and the attempts are unsuccessful. They would have been successful if they were staged. If they would have been successful, they wouldn't have staged, right? These people on the left are mentally ill and dangerous. They will truly have the enemy within. Well, so they had access to the money for the past 40 years, and they don't want to lose that access. It's as easy as that. Trump said he would build a wall. Where's the wall? He said, hey, brother, listen. I can't say that's a lie because it's still being built. Yeah, so that's definitely not a lie. And you can't talk like he's left office. You can't talk like he has left office. He hasn't left office yet. And you can't do that. That's not in good faith. If the wall gets built before he leaves office, if it doesn't, then he lied. Okay, but we can't say yet. Yes, he's still in office. He said he made a goal to Microsoft and Mexico would pay. What do you think God is? Is it even reasonable to just ask this question? I mean, God is God is the creator of everything that is. I mean, you have to ask yourself, it's a personal relationship. It's a personal communication. What's up, Michael? The crazy people on the left want Trump to be taken out. They gleefully told us that Trump was on death's door and it would see him get on Air Force One and go play golf. Leftist wackos celebrated Charlie Kirk's death and then tell us there's no place for political violence, right? If there's no God, where did the Bumblebee plane come from? That's right. Mandami just cut $12 billion of balance, I guess. But the point is about the lies. The lies. He said that there would be free buses, and then bus fare went up $20 a week for everyone. You know, $20 a day, $100 a week for everybody that travels five days a week. He said that he would be out. Now, and again, so that was a blatant lie. He said that everybody would get free buses, and then the price went up. But he said, what Mandami said is he said, I didn't know how bad the debt was. Right, you didn't know, and you spoke like you did when you were running. And they told us that Joe Biden was fine when he obviously wasn't. Yeah. Trump is a habitual liar and part of the George Soros attack on Americans. They call us. They want prominent people in MAGA like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene to turn against Trump. They highlight that because the Democrats want to have their cake and eat it too. Oh, damn, I'm way far behind. All right. You guys keep going.
That sound implausible when you see them next to the dimensions of the aircraft. Maximum speed was 165 knots. Cruise was 130 knots. Rate of climb was 4,500 feet per minute, which is faster than a number of light jet aircraft manage. Service ceiling was 14,000 feet. Those numbers do not belong to something with a 5-foot wingspan, and yet there they are. Part of the reason the performance is so striking is the weight-to-power ratio. 85 horsepower in a 400-pound airframe gives you a ratio that most light aircraft can only dream about. The Cessna 172, which most pilots learn to fly in, has around 160 horsepower and weighs 2,550 pounds empty. The Bumblebee 2 had more
Doing what? We're doing what? Calling the cops on Epstein? Yeah, no, don't defend pedos. So find out which ones are, which ones aren't, and take them to task. Capitalism enables everything. They have a higher standard of living. They say socialism is bad. Ultimate plan, divide and conquer. That's exactly what's happening to divide and conquer. New York City public transit is like commuting with crammed live cattle. Jeez. They cannot define what they claim to be. The Democrats want the government to take everything, including our lives. I think that they've done. I think too much of the mob and the cartels got involved with the cities along the border, Republican and Democrat, and they decided to get rich off of that for so many years. And now when things appear to be pushing on them, they don't want to get caught. They want to be able to spend their money. They do not seek to ban. They seek to make mandatory. Host Trump is not a savior. He's a front man for Soros. I'm not saying he's a savior. I'm not saying he is at all. If we were not double standards, they would have no standards at all. Nothing new, right? Nothing new under the sun, right? So enjoy your day and figure out what you're going to do for yourself, your family, and your neighbors. Don't worry about what's going on with things that you cannot change unless you want to make that change.
At less than a sixth of the weight. That is why the climb rate is 4,500 feet per minute. That is why the maximum speed is 165 knots. The physics are working in Starr's favor in terms of raw performance, even while they're working against him in terms of wing area and handling. The fuel tank held 3 US gallons. 3 gallons gave the aircraft around 30 minutes of flying time at cruise power, which works out to a practical range of roughly 16 nautical miles. That is not a misprint. You could not fly this aircraft from one side of a city to the other in most cases. What you could do was take off, demonstrate that it flew, set a record, and land before the fuel ran out. That was the design intent, and that was the operating profile. Guinness World Records observers were at Marana Air Park, just outside Tucson, Arizona, on April the 2nd, 1988, when Starr flew the Bumblebee 2 for the first time. He would have been 64 years old. The aircraft had a stall speed of 75 knots and a wing area about the size of a dining table. Getting it into the air required a very
and claim to be bad define socialism. They don't even know textbook definitions. Yeah, the problem is this is what our kids are taught. Our kids aren't taught properly about these things. They're only taught what they want them to repeat. They don't know, like when you ask people about socialism, they don't have any idea about it, and they don't understand what fascism is. They just think that they don't know what it is. They just think fascism is what Trump's doing. Anything Trump's doing is fascist. But where did it come from? What's the history of it? They don't know. I bought some watermelon seed, watermelon, basil, and spinach seeds. Yeah, brother, get you some growing. It's about taken from one producer, causes chaos and misery. Yeah, I got me a bunch. True democracy doesn't exist because the gang dynamics of the political establishment is my establishment. It's my of socialist capitalist slurry gang control. Yeah. That's the problem. The problem is the gang is the gang control, the mob mentality, the complete run on turning what's it called? Freaking influence into affluence. So turning, they have a bunch of people listening to them. How can they make as much money of that off as possible? And they don't care who they hurt. These people that live in the capitalist systems like parasites pulling the bricks out of the foundation of the very structure. It's ultimately disappointing. Yeah, because I think a lot of them have no problem getting rich and escaping the country. Yeah, I agree. Yes, a bunch of yes men. I agree. Yes. Yeah. And when you have people that are losing their lives over this stuff, they don't understand what they're losing their lives for. It's like, and they feel that they do. They feel that they do. They have never had to live under this abject tyranny of socialism, and they say capitalism is bad and they seek to destroy it. Right. So here's a big problem. People outside of America are much poorer than the poorest people in America. So the poor people in America, who by world standards are very rich, they're bitching about it from their $1,000 phone. So the people outside know that they're rich. So when they can get them to say tax the rich, eat the rich, the people outside of America are talking about even the poorest of Americans. But the poorest of Americans that are thinking that way and voting that way don't understand that they're feeding themselves. They're feeding themselves to that giant. I can say for experience that capitalism is wicked. For experience. Yeah, it's definitely better than communism. Absolutely. Yeah, because people don't understand that you have to fund capitalism. You have to fund socialism. And the only person that's going to fund it is going to be a capitalist. Then it's going to be a false society run by capitalists that make everybody into not wage slaves, but just straight slaves. They're going to give them the worst of food, the worst of shelter. And then when that fails, they're still going to be ultra rich. It's wicked to take from one that produces it and give it to one that does nothing. So yeah, misery and chaos. I agree. People that use the word fascism don't understand the history of the definition of it. Yep, I agree also. You can miss something. Wage slaves are not part of the grand governance. No.
Timing, and the kind of calm that only comes from having flown things that most people would decline to climb into.
Look at
the
that
aircraft
frickin'
taxied
thing,
out,
dude.
accelerated down the runway, and lifted off. It flew a circuit. It landed. The Guinness observers took their measurements, confirmed the wingspan of 5 feet 6 inches and the length of 8 feet 10.
Right. And that's a huge problem, is that most people don't know we're a constitutional republic. And they don't understand how it works because we're constantly lied to. We're constantly lied to and fear-mongered to. You should do a Trump debate live. Bam! Let's do it. The United States is not a democracy. Yes, right. It's a constitutional republic, right? We have democratic-like, and we fight for democracy around the world. But right, yeah, democracy is 50 plus 1. 50% plus 1 is democracy. It's majority, and we have representatives' wives, and then you have to have like 2/3 votes for in the House and whatnot like that. That's not a democracy. What is and what we wish are two different things. Yes, I agree. United States and Soviet Union, Soviet Onion. What's take? Oh, United Steaks and Soviet Onion. I'd say the United Steaks. AOC is an epitome of what's wrong with UK governance, such as contempt, but she's still there. Yeah, she's really bad, dude. Listen. I don't know. Maybe I was thinking with my junk because she's hot, but yeah, she's really bad. She's really, dude, really bad, really bad. UK governance. Okay, that's what I figured you meant. You had to be an aeronautical genius to make that thing. Yeah, to design it, to build it, and then to fly it. Because this is in the late 80s, early 90s. So there wasn't no computers helping this thing fly. You were flying by feel. What up, internet, brother? I remember when David Bowie sang Fashion. It sounds like fascist. I wonder if he did it on purpose. She really is hot. I think she got her seat. I agree. She was a bartender. Dude. A bartender, and then got into politics. Like some dude was like running his time was running out. He was in his last years as in office, and then he was like, who can I get to puppet? And this hot chick that's here, Like when she's asked things about the world and she says, I'm not a professional in geopolitics. It's so freaking embarrassing. And then when she got asked about Taiwan and China in Davos, she said the same thing. She froze. And then she gets on Instagram and says, if you don't think that I know about Taiwan and China, you're the problem. But she didn't explain what's going on and what she would do about China and Taiwan. She just said, if you don't think I know, you're the problem. Okay, well then explain it to us. You're running for president. That thing had to be one of the... Oh yeah, let's look at it.
Piloted biplane. And by wingspan and by length, it was also smaller than the Baby Bird on both of those dimensions individually, which made it arguably the smallest piloted aircraft of any configuration ever flown. But
April 2nd, 1988.
That was where things got complicated. Guinness had a problem on their hands. The Bumblebee 2 was shorter and narrower than the Baby Bird. 5 feet 6 inches versus 6 feet 3 inches of wingspan. 8 feet 10 inches versus 11 feet of length. On both of those measurements, the Bumblebee 2 won clearly and without ambiguity, but the Baby Bird weighed only 250 pounds empty. The Bumblebee 2 weighed 396. Some of the Guinness adjudicators took the position that weight was a reasonable component of overall size, and that the heavier aircraft couldn't claim to be smaller overall, regardless of its external dimensions. That argument has a certain logic to it if you think about size in terms
John Denver went down in a plane like experimental plane he couldn't reach. Yeah, brother. I don't know, dude. I mean, that's true, but I don't know if it was him not being able to switch the reserve. I think he downed it. But I don't know. AOC's a Democrat. She doesn't have to explain anything. Yep, that's right. They say an actual bee, the insect, should not be able to fly. It's too fat and heavy, and its wings are too small. Right. Same. I think that's why he named this aircraft that because it's too fat and its wings are too small. Yeah. That's got him. Yeah, he was a little guy. She was, but I don't know how to lose her. Uh-oh, brother. She was addicted to me, and you don't know how to lose her. The plane John Denver went down and was, way more flight worthy than that thing. Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. He was in, and he flew it many times.
Of mass, it makes considerably less sense.
The plane he went
if you're
down
standing next to both aircraft.
Yeah, right. Restraining order. He's in Netherlands. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you got to get away from that stuff, man. Yeah.
The deliberation went on for a while. In the end, Guinness arrived at what was fairly clearly a diplomatic solution rather than a definitive one. The Bumblebee 2 got the record for the world's smallest piloted biplane. The Stitz DS-1 Baby Bird got the record for the world's smallest piloted monoplane. Both certificates were issued. Both records have stood ever since. Neither side was entirely satisfied, but both
is that he didn't have enough fuel, but there was a reserve tank that's just too small to be able to reach. He was too small to be able to reach it. He had never tested it out to see if he could reach it. Okay, gotcha. John flew a Burt Rutan designed plane that tons of people fly. Yeah. I mean, but have you ever looked into the whole? All right, let's do this real quick. Let's do this. John Denver's last flight. Let's see what we can find. Rutan Easy was the pilot and crashed into the bay, killing the 53-year-old instantly. Newly purchased experimental plane, fuel depletion. He took off without fuel refueling. Plane ran out of gas. Ergonomic flaws. He had replaced the fuel selector valve in a hard-to-reach location behind the pilot's seat. While attempting to switch fuel tanks, he inadvertently pressed the rudder pedals, causing the aircraft to go into a steep, unrecoverable dive. National transport, difficult to access fuel controls, lack of formal transition training, and specific unusual aircraft models is cause of the crash. Damn. Tons of people. John Denver didn't bother to glide the plane. Yeah, that's what I remember hearing back in the day. At the time, the airplane was considered to be experimental. Yeah. What's up, Kraken? Does matter if it was not they were to glide a certain amount. Well, I mean, if what they're saying here, he put it into too steep of a dive to recover from. If he had to? I mean, I don't understand why they. I mean, yeah, I guess they put the fuel select switch behind the the pilot's seat, so you have the. Yeah, that seems like a pretty freaking odd way to do it. I remember what had happened. I researched it in depth, and my mother loved John Denver. Dude, listen, I remember hearing about it for years afterwards, about it being a suicide. So, I mean, this is the first time I've heard this other stuff. I mean, but then again, it's not like what they were saying on the news had to be true. He was challenging Evel Knievel. Say, I'm going to show you. 1997. Challenging Evel Knievel. Yeah, dude, crazy. What happened was he was contorting himself to be able to reach the fuel selection switch. He had to stretch and inadvertently hit the rudder control. But yeah, control dive.
Something to show for their effort, and the matter was no longer actively contested. Starr, characteristically, kept flying. He had a record. He had a certificate. As far as he was concerned, the matter was settled. The crash happened on May the 5th, 1988. 33 days after the record flight. It was the third time the Bumblebee 2 had left the ground. Starr was flying a standard traffic pattern at Marana Air Park when the engine quit at 400 feet of altitude on the downwind leg. In a conventional aircraft...
So technically, the cause of the combination of running out of fuel, not being able to reach the fuel selector switch, which is the reserve tank switch, hitting the rudder. People crash airplanes all the time because not being familiar enough with the fuel, That's so crazy. That's so crazy that it would be out of. That's crazy. I mean, listen. It's not hard to move something like that. You just it's where along the piping it is.
Losing the engine at 400 feet on downwind is a serious emergency, but it is not necessarily a fatal one. You are in the general vicinity of the airfield. You have some altitude. You can try to stretch a glide back to the runway or identify a field and put it down with a controlled arrival. In the Bumblebee 2, the options were considerably more limited. Think about what 75 knots means as a stall speed. Most light training aircraft stall at around 40 to 50 knots.
Yeah.
The Cessna 172 stalls at around 48 knots with flaps down.
Weird.
The Bumblebee 2 needed to be doing at least 75 knots just to stay in the air.
Weird.
Any slower than that and it stopped flying. So to stay in the air and avoid a stall, Starr had to keep the airspeed above that number. To get back to the runway, he needed to maneuver the aircraft while simultaneously managing his energy. In a very small, very fast, very sensitive aircraft with 35 square feet of wing area and no engine, At 400 feet above the ground, the margin between managing that situation and not managing it was extremely thin. There was not enough altitude for mistakes. The aircraft came down short of the runway. It was destroyed. Robert Starr survived, though his injuries were severe enough that a full recovery, which he eventually made, was not a certainty in those early weeks. He was 64 years old. He had flown over China in fighters, tested aircraft. Nobody
with no suspension. There was no leaf springs or anything on those bikes. It was solid. Where's the story about Evil Knievel where Hell's Angels showed up one time to start off with him and he had to stay and beat the had the what? And the stadium people beat up the Hell's Angels? Maybe it was sabotaged by John Rudenberry. XR750 badass motorcycle. Not what I meant. Auto-corrected that. Richard. That motorcycle weighed over 400 pounds. Crazy Evil Knievel will be able to jump things. Yeah. No fear.
Else would touch, and spent a lifetime accumulating 15,000 hours of experience that was supposed to be exactly what you needed to manage situations like this. The Bumblebee 2 was still the aircraft that put him in hospital. He never rebuilt it. The wreckage was not restored. Unlike the Bumblebee 1, which Starr had donated to the Pima Air and Space Museum in Tucson, Arizona, the Bumblebee 2 left behind nothing physical. No airframe, no components, no cockpit to lean into. Just photographs, a Guinness entry, and the account of what happened on those 3 flights. If you want to understand the scale of what Starr built, the Bumblebee 1 is still at the Pima Air...
Alright, let's see. Hold on, Julio. We'll take a look. Hold on. Boom. There you are, looking good, Julio. Cookie. Jeez, dude. That's a lot of freaking cookies, dude. Hell's Angels carry guns. Probably not back then. Probably baseball bats and motorcycles. Knives. When I was growing up in the 70s, Evil Knievel was probably the biggest hero. Yeah, I had the zip cord Evil Knievel bike. And I had the actual Evil Knievel bicycle that had the 3-speed gear shift on the column or on the crotch. That the crowd beat up the Hells Angels at the Cow Palace attacking Evil. Wow. Oh wow. So like they crowd. Wow. When's Cowboy gonna be back? I don't know. He'll be back. He's always
Air and
back.
Space Museum in Tucson on permanent display. Most people who see it for the first time react with something between disbelief and mild alarm. It looks like a model. It is not a model, and that is the larger aircraft.
He was always in debt. I know that. That's why he kept doing it.
For the other side of the rivalry, the State's DS-1 Baby Bird is on display at the EAA Air Venture Museum in Oshkosh,
especially down here,
Wisconsin. 6 feet 3 inches of wingspan, 11 feet long, a 55 horsepower engine, a maximum speed of around 95 knots. Pilot Harold Niemer flew it 35 times before it was retired in 1989. It sits there with its Guinness certificate and its record as the world's smallest monoplane. Almost nobody who walks past it knows what they are looking at until someone stops to explain. There is something worth finishing on, which is the sheer strangeness of this particular corner of aviation. The competition for the world's smallest aircraft was never about commercial viability or practical application. Nobody was going to build a fleet of bumblebees. Nobody was going to commute to work in a baby bird. These aircraft existed purely to answer a question. How small can you go and still leave the ground with a person inside it? And the men who built them did so out of engineering pride, competitive stubbornness, and a genuine desire to do something that other people said was impossible. Robert Starr named his aircraft after the Bumblebee for exactly that reason. The popular legend, largely mythological, but persistent, holds that, according to standard aerodynamic calculations, the Bumblebee should not be capable of flight.
There you go.
Its wing area is simply too small for its body weight, and yet the bee flies anyway. Engineers had made similar statements about Starr's aircraft. He found the comparison entirely appropriate, and he was not wrong to. The Guinness record
like 120 grand.
the world's smallest piloted biplane still belongs to the Star Bumblebee 2. It has stood for nearly 40
the Jetson
years,
1.
and nobody
the
has come
Jetson
close.
1. I think it's $85,000 or $120,000. Jetson 1. Yeah, you can see I was already there. $148,000. Yeah, Jetson 1. Jetson 1, yeah. That's a flying saucer. What up, Mr. Palad? Yeah, it looks like one, doesn't it? That little itty bitty guy there. Bro, almost quoted the movie. I bet the majority of the best military pilots would go anywhere near. No. You think they would or wouldn't? I think they would. Especially if they flew it over the water. It's a miracle that they didn't get Trump, and the fact that all the Trump mayors were attempts that are successful say it's fake or staged. Elroy, that's right. Elroy Jetson. Battery tech comes a long way. Motor miniaturization, so it'll be smaller than a B now. Yeah, I don't think they would either, William. Yeah, I unless it was like just over water type stuff, like maybe. But a majority, a majority would not. A rare few fighter jet guys and engineers would. This is a propeller one. There was a jet one that I saw called the Silver Bullet. But so when these go up to sodium, and the thing is, you have to be below 5'9" to fit in here, and below, I think, 160 pounds to get the 20 minutes of flight time. Right when the sodium-based batteries, I don't know if they're called sodium ion, but they're not lithium. They're sodium ion batteries. I believe they are ion. They are lighter, so for the same size, you get more power. So that will extend the length. Worth every penny. Yeah, A-10 pilots are a hitman of pilots. They definitely are. BD-1 is a silver bullet. Okay, we'll look at that in just a second. That's what I wanted to see. I think any pilot with an eject seat, a parachute seat. Yeah. That's what I would need. Silver Bullet jet plane. Yeah, the Coors Light Silver Bullet BD. What'd you call it? BD1. Oh, looks like there's a BD1, BD3, BD5. Yeah, I'm trying to show some. Okay, here you go. You see this guy sitting next to it. It's about as freaking long as that guy is tall. There's got to be a freaking video of it.
So let's go see. As I sit here and look at this thing, I think about all of the work that was put into it by so many people.
Oh, this is a different one. This is a prop.
Here's my actual flight bag that I carry with me. So it's got oil, extra headset in it just in case, some cleaner lube, towels, a couple of MREs, and I chose good ones. The yucky ones, like beef stew is a good one, and the chili mac is another really good one. So,
okay, that's not what I wanted to see. There we go. Welcome back, Ken, brother. Coors beer is terrible. It's made with poison. Yes, yeah, it's got freaking glyphosate in every dust in every can and bottle. It's detectable in it.
Hi, my name is Bob Bishop. I'm pilot of the Coors Light Silverbolt Jet, the
YouTube
world's
has
smallest
videos
jet
about
airplane.
what,
This airplane is only 12 feet long, has a 17-foot wingspan, weighs all of 432 pounds, yet is capable of speeds of over 300 miles an hour, and all types of aerobatic maneuvers. Sloops, rolls, upside down, it just doesn't seem to care. It's probably the most fun I've ever had flying an airplane. The airplane is very lightweight, maneuverable. It's like an Indy race car versus a street car. The airplane is... It just does what you want it to do. You think where you want to go, that's where you wind up, and that's really the fun part of it.
That's the problem.
As a matter of fact, it's such an easy airplane to fly in aerobatics that allows me the opportunity to be able to go ahead and narrate my show while I'm flying. You'll hear my voice from the cockpit, and I'll be coming in over the PA system with the air show announcer. How do you copy, Bobby?
Pat's Blue Ribbon.
You're in the Silverbolt.
5 Robert, we're getting ready for you to sit in the takeoff position there for the world's smallest jet, Mr. Bobby Bishop. And we'll turn it back to the cockpit, Bobby, whenever you're ready.
Okay, canopy is locked. Coming up on the power to 100% power. 100% RPM. Oil temperature and gauges look good. Now turn the Silverbolt loose. We're on the roll. Looking for about 65 knots on the liftoff today. 55 knots. Nose coming up. 65 knots, we got liftoff. Landing gear coming up. And we're just going to easy up on the flaps there now. Let the airplane kind of accelerate right on out. Tell you what, William, the folks might not have seen that. I'm going to come right back around and we're going to do a little disappearing trick with landing gear. Okay, folks, see those wheels? Now you see them and now you don't. Now you see them. They're gone again. One more time. Little sleight of hand trick there, Bill.
Those wheels look like they came off your lawnmower.
No truth to that. Remember, it makes the lawnmower cut too close.
Well, there's a guy
Don't
in
make
the
the
audience here
lawnmower
about
cut
6'8"
too
with a
close.
lawnmower and only one wheel on it.
Yeah, but I didn't say anything about stealing from my neighbor's lawnmower. I just said I didn't steal from my lawnmower.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, Bill, coming back in for the knife edge pass. For you folks out there with the camera, this is probably the one you're going to try and take here. Going to be tilting the airplane up on the vertical knife edge. Maybe you got a real sharp focus out there. You can get some current light on top of the wing. We're looking for about 180 knots. We've got full power on now. Go ahead. Put the smoke off and up we go, Bill. We're going to come back in this time and setting up for the maneuver we call the Cuban A.
Yeah, man, that's pretty amazing stuff.
We're looking for about 220 knots on this one. And we've got the speed already here. We're just going to continue right on down to the north side of the field here. Oh, just cooking right along here. This is rocket fire.
I mean, you got to imagine they probably got a shit ton of smaller, faster planes than that. 65 knots is way slower to get airborne than what I would have guessed. Pretty dang impressive. Yeah, it's light. He said it was 156 pounds. Is that what he said in the beginning? Let's just see. Oh, let's go back to here. All right. Does over 352 miles an hour, 67 years ago today. So, Howard Hughes set a 3-kilometer speed record in the H1 or V1. All right, let's see. We got, 150, 1970s, 1971. There's 30 of them flying, that's said as of 2022. Weighing only, it says 358. You can still get kits, airworthy. They hold the world's smallest aircraft, weighing only 358. Maybe you said 358. 450. 358. Oh, there's different versions. There's the FAA certified version, and yeah. I guess 150 pounds is way too small. 200 miles an hour cruising speed, 55 horsepower, 1,215 mile range. Those little bastards, like a bunch of them just zipping through at 300 miles an hour. So you get 4 hours at top speed. That's really good. That's really good. Fuselage fiberglass over aluminum. You had to weld some landing gear, offering efficiency of 38 miles to the gallon. That's better than most cars and trucks. 38 miles to the gallon. With wings removed, the air, it can be packed into a custom trailer and be towed by a car. Yeah. The listing price was under $2,000. $1,950. The Associated article of prototype. Wow. You had to, in 1971, you had to be one of the first to put a $200 deposit down to receive a kit. 36. Oh, it's a snowmobile engine too. Wow. Polaris snowmobile engine. Stability was marginal at best and needed a redesign. All metal fused, hydroformed, algran, and modified. It also made ergonomics. It's $30,000 in tooling. We sprayed a larger book. Okay, that's really freaking cool. Okay, then it got a Kleichhofer engine. Had been in the air show in 1971. 3 flights demonstrated the program. Okay, Beatty handle alone. What ended with it? Deliveries and Beatty. After 5,100 kits, the kit stopped shipping, although the company effectively bankrupt. Bankruptcy in 1979, it was long dead. Any crashes? Let's see. Oh, wow. Uh-oh. Government doesn't want us to know. Silver Bullet did not have a single defining fatal accident. Wow. Okay. Cool. Wow. Good work. Good work, gentlemans. Good work. Let's see. My eyeball. There we go. Okay. Good work. Really nice. Let's see. Protors back here. All right. Boom. 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 Boom.
To challenging it. Partly that is because the engineering difficulties are real. Partly it is because making something with a wingspan shorter than 5 feet 6 inches while keeping a person alive inside it at any meaningful speed pushes up against the fundamental limits of what wing loading and controllability will physically allow. At some point, the wings simply cannot generate enough lift to keep the aircraft flying at a speed above its own stall speed. There is a flaw somewhere near what Starr built. He may have been standing on it, and partly perhaps because the story of how the record was set and then destroyed within the same month is enough to give anyone thinking about trying a reason to pause and think carefully about whether they really want to. Robert Starr recovered from his injuries. He kept flying in other aircraft. He never tried to reclaim the biplane record, and he never explained publicly whether that was because the crash had changed his calculations, or simply because he felt the point had already been made and there was nothing left to prove. Perhaps that is the right place to leave it. A man who flew fighters over China tested aircraft nobody else would sit in. Built a biplane smaller than his own arm span, flew it at 165 knots, set a world record that nobody has beaten in 40 years, crashed it 33 days later, survived at 64, and then went back to flying other things without particular fanfare. Smaller than everything parked near it in that museum.
When I looked something up here, let me see if I can find it. It said something. Pima Air and Space Museum. Smithsonian. AI's broke. They didn't pay their bills. No, it does not house it. And you can find the original Bumblebee, Pima Air and Space Museum, Tucson, Arizona. They do hold the Sky Baby, which was test flown by the same guy. Sky Baby. There we go. That's what it was. There we go. Let's see what that says. Retro, boy.
The Stitz SA-2A Sky Baby is a remarkable chapter in the history of aviation.
Yeah, so it looks almost like it's a biplane.
Of the world's smallest man-carrying aircraft. Its creator, Ray Stitz, was a mechanic and World War II fighter pilot based in Riverside, California. Motivated by a challenge from a fellow pilot, he sought to build an aircraft with the smallest possible dimensions, yet still capable of safe human flight. The Sky Baby was constructed in 1951 in collaboration with...
We had a field trip in the 70s and went to the Smithsonian, Washington, D.C. and saw a movie called To Fly. So I had I used to live in Maryland, so I used to go there a couple times a year down to the Smithsonian, down to D.C. I think I saw that. I think I saw To Fly, and then I went to Kill Devil Hills to the Wright Brothers Museum.
Test pilot Robert B. Starr.
North Carolina, South Carolina.
It was an enclosed single-engine biplane featuring a unique negative stagger wing layout. Both sets of wings were cantilevered without external bracing to save space and reduce drag. The upper wings had flaps, while the lower wings carried ailerons.
Right. Well, Kill Devil Hills, I want to say, is where it was. I was staying in Kill Devil Hills. Kill Devil Hills Aircraft Museum. National, right? Yeah, right here. Kill Devil Hills, the Wright Brothers National Museum. But yes, the Kitty Hawk first it's in Kill Devil Hills, yeah. But yeah, Kitty Hawk, it was right. Big Kill Devil Hill. The outskirts of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Yeah, the Outer Banks. Yeah. The Outer Banks is so awesome. What a nice place. The only place that's better than Ocean City, Maryland. Yeah. I went to Ocean City, Maryland probably 50 times. Spent lots of times there with family and without partying and then.
Span was only 2.6 meters, and the total wing area just 3.39 square meters.
Yeah, Kill Devil Hills is definitely
used conventional
really nice.
tailwheel landing gear after initially testing with tricycle gear. Structurally, the fuselage was built from welded steel tubing covered with aircraft fabric, while the wings and tail were constructed of wood. Unconventionally, the cockpit was extremely compact. The engine was mounted close to the pilot's lap, and the rudder pedals extended beneath the oil sump toward the front of the cowling. The Sky Baby was powered by a modified Aircraft engine with water injection, producing up to 112 horsepower. However, some sources cite a Continental C-85 engine rated at 85 horsepower. Robert Starr conducted the maiden flight on May 26, 1952 in Palm Springs, California. Due to center of gravity limitations, only lightweight pilots under 77 kilograms could fly it, primarily Starr and Lester Cole. Despite its tiny size, the aircraft displayed impressive performance. A maximum speed of 350 kilometers per hour, cruising speed of 266 kilometers per hour, and a landing speed around 129 kilometers per hour. Throughout 1952, the Sky Baby toured air shows across the United States, but was retired in October after accumulating only 25 hours of flight time. It was eventually donated to the National Air and Space Museum and has been exhibited both in Oshkosh and at the Stephen Furnish Udvar-Hazy Center. The legacy of the Sky Baby extended beyond its brief career. In the 1980s, Starr built an even smaller aircraft, the Bumblebee 2, officially recognized by Guinness as the world's smallest biplane.
It did fly. It flew for 25 hours. Yeah, it flew for and back in the 1950s, I think it said.
Its Ray's son designed the Baby Bird, the world's smallest monoplane.
Great.
Together, these designs underline the ingenuity and competitive spirit behind the Sky Baby, securing its place as a landmark in aviation history.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. Wow, what is that? The lifting fuselage experiment that failed.
The General Airborne Transport XCG-16 was one of the most unusual American military gliders developed during the Second World War. Designed as a heavy transport and assault glider for the United States Army Air Forces, it combined advanced aerodynamic ideas with unconventional engineering solutions. Although the aircraft never entered mass production, it became an important experiment in military aviation and lifting body aircraft design. The origins of the XCG-16 can be traced to the aerodynamic theories of American engineer Vincent Bernelli.
That era, but this was
in
American.
1930, Bernelli patented the concept of a
definitely
lifting
been over
fuselage,
an hour.
in which the fuselage itself generated a significant portion of the aircraft's lift, instead of acting only as a cargo container. This approach promised higher aerodynamic efficiency, improved payload capacity, and reduced drag. During World War II, these ideas attracted the attention of aircraft designers Holly Bolus and Albert Kriz, who decided to apply Bernelli's concept to a military assault glider. Their experimental aircraft received the designation MC-1. Before constructing the full-scale version, the team built a half-scale prototype to evaluate the unusual lifting body configuration. Flight tests showed stable handling and good aerodynamic
those airplanes
encouraging further development.
Yeah, you gotta be
smart,
brother.
The success of these tests convinced the United States Army Air Forces to support the project.
Yeah, you're figuring it out,
The full-scale MC-1, later redesignated
John
XCG-16, was built by the newly formed General Airborne Transport Company. The aircraft was a twin-boom high-wing glider made largely of wood. Its most distinctive feature was the massive lifting fuselage, divided into two cargo compartments. Above them sat a tandem two-seat cockpit under a glazed.
Gother wagon fabric. Yeah, that was a bad boy there. Let's see if we can find any videos. Aviation history. Yeah, John Go Body. Bam. Thank you, brother John Go Body. Oops, I think I broke it. John Go Body. Bam. Thank you, brother. Bam. Thank you, brother. Thank you, my friend. Let's see who got one. Just Chillin', Metal Ruse, Reese, Jim W, and Alicia. Ain't seen Alicia in a couple days. She'll be back. Thank you, brother John. I guess I still got John's name up on the screen from freaking Two jet skis. Thank you, brother. Bam. That's got to be AI. Yeah, that's. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, definitely old flying wing. Y'all, you missed it, Katra. Bam. Thank you, Brother John. My luck is god awful. You got horrible luck. What, cowboy?
Glazed canopy. Large nose doors and a loading
Some
ramp allowed
people call
vehicles
me the
and artillery
space
to enter
cowboy.
directly.
Yeah. Some call me the gangster love. Oh my gosh, some of them. Some people call me Maurice. Because I speak of the pompatus of love.
Through the front section.
Others.
The
There
XCG-16 could transport up to 42 fully equipped soldiers, 2 105mm howitzers, 2 military jeeps, or a combination of artillery,
Favorite
crew,
airline,
and towing
favorite
vehicles.
airplane or airliner?
Retractable tricycle landing gear, improved
So, I mean, it's probably the B1. I mean, that's just a freaking bad
dynamics during towing flight, although it increased
Let me see. Hold on. Bam. That thing's freaking badass. I forgot Brianna. They're testing my luck. Yeah, that's pretty tough. Like, look at that. Look at that. Look at this. Hold on. Look at that. Look at that freaking the butt cheeks on that thing. Look at the freaking spread, dude. That thing's incredible. That's a badass plane. Yeah. Katra, do you want to see me expose Richard like I did last night? James Leninger. Okay, let's see what we got.
This story is insane. So James also used to make a lot of drawings, like little drawings of planes, and whenever he drew anything that was related to piloting planes or World War II or something,
Pompatus? That's a good question. I don't know what it means. Pompatus. Nope, made up by Steve Miller. Because I speak of the pompatus of love. It's become, Wow, yeah. All right, let's see what Space Cowboy's got for us here. Never watched,
So we got a pretty large gap.
That's exactly why I married her.
So we got a pretty large gap.
That's exactly why I married her.
So we got a pretty large gap.
That's exactly why I married her.
Looks like Giovanni paid $14.99. Thank you, brother.
So we got a pretty large gap.
Exactly why I married her.
Structural complexity.
Wrong one.
he always signed them, like signed his work, and wrote James 3. Now, no one knew why he started doing that.
One day I asked him why he's calling himself James 3. Well, it's because I'm the third James.
So as time went on, Bruce pretty much made it his life's work to prove this wrong, to prove that his son wasn't reincarnated, and to find a logical explanation for what strange occurrences were happening. Another super weird thing that happened when James was playing with like G.I. Joes and stuff or his toys, he would sometimes take the propeller off of the front of a plane. He also gave his G.I. Joe characters pretty unusual names. He named them Leon, Billy, and Walter. Bruce asked him, hey, why are those dolls named that? And he said, well, those were the guys that met me in heaven when I first got there.
Why is the woman talking? Look attractive to me. Life's a weird thing. Have you seen the Dark Star Plane Anatomy? Dark Star plane? Bam. There you go. That's a badass. I don't care to see the news. Oh, jeez, freaking wackadoo. Oh, my goodness gracious. Gosh, all right, Kendra. All right, what was I missing? Something here. Where was it? All right, let's see if we can find a video on it. Nah, there's got to be a freaking shorter story than that. There we go. It's true. There's multiple reasons. Oh, this freaking guy. Oh, why didn't I see that was Facebook? Where? Okay, videos. There we go. Tinfoil Tom. There we go.
Growing up, we didn't really do road trips, but we traveled.
When I think about
Every time we went somewhere, my mom packed food.
Reincarnation. Could we come back as someone else? Here's Chris Cuomo with two down-to-earth parents. Could we come back as someone else? Here's Chris Cuomo with two down-to-earth parents who thought they understood the mysteries of life.
That should be the video cargi.
Are you ready to explore the mysteries of the afterlife? Our world can be... But what if death? But history spread the parents Bruce and Andrea Leiniger.
There we go.
Everything was seemingly normal in James's childhood, and nothing would indicate he was anything more than a healthy child in a happy household. A typical family in America. But then, at 22 months old, while visiting the Kavanaugh Flight Museum in Dallas, something seemed to click in young James's mind. Something almost supernatural. James became fixated on the aircraft in the museum, particularly the older World War II era aircraft. So entranced by the planes, as a matter of fact, that his father had to force the young boy to leave the museum, almost kicking and screaming. This, by itself, would not be that unusual. Imagine yourself as a kid who just wanted 5 more minutes playing Nintendo. But then, more strange occurrences would begin to manifest. When James had turned 2, he began to have vivid nightmares that, to him, were incredibly realistic and profoundly terrifying. The imagination of a young child having incredibly vivid nightmares on a daily basis. In his sleep, he would thrash around and scream, "Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out." As he would twist wildly, he would also kick his feet towards the sky, as if trying to escape from somewhere. His mother, Andrea, asked him who little man was, and the young James would reply simply by saying, "Me." Around this time, he would also begin crashing his toy planes into furniture, smashing off their propellers, and would depict intense aerial battles with World War II era planes in his drawings. Again, this in and of itself isn't crazy, but it is a little odd. Keep in mind, this was now the early 2000s. World War II had ended more than a half-century prior. Something peculiar of note about these drawings is that he signed them all as James III. Did this indicate his age? He was around that birthday. When his father asked him what the 3 meant, he replied simply,
"Yeah, I think I
he's
remember
the 3rd
seeing
James.
or hearing about this story years
He
ago."
also seemed to know in-depth information about World War II era aircraft that a young child shouldn't really know. At least, not to that degree, such as correcting his mother when she pointed out a bomb on a toy plane, to which he corrected, "That's not a bomb, Mommy. That's a drop tank." James, as they would later find out, was 100% accurate. He was able to identify specific parts of vintage aircraft with frightening precision. James's parents joked that when other kids were learning how to be potty trained, their son was able to correctly identify complex parts of military aircraft out of thin air. Around this time, the most compelling evidence to date also occurred. Complex details about a specific individual he had no knowledge of prior, nor could he have known about. He told his parents that in a former life, the one he had now been dreaming of for some time, he had been a pilot named James, and he had flown a Corsair fighter plane during World War II. He was stationed on a ship called the Natoma that he had insisted was an American vessel, and he had had a friend on board named Jack Larson. A revelation that made the family's blood run ice cold. He said he had been killed in action near Iwo Jima during a battle in World War II. This was a very young child with this information, but the eerie events did not stop there. Bruce, James's father, had finally decided he needed to investigate what his son was saying. It was far too compelling to not look into. When most kids in the 2000s were happy enough talking about the latest episodes of Power Rangers or Pokemon, here we had a toddler telling his parents details of things he could not possibly have known about. What Bruce found next was nothing short of heart-stopping. It turns out the things that young James had been saying were true. A ship called the Natoma Bay had been deployed for the Battle of Iwo Jima, and a pilot named Jack Larson had served on that ship. Bruce's son had named both the ship and a man whom young James couldn't possibly have known about. While poring over military records and reaching out to survivors of the Natoma Bay, he found the man his son had been having visions of. A man from the past. A man that had served with and been the friend of a pilot named Jack Larson. The man James had been dreaming about, who was the last man to see another pilot alive. The final missing piece of the puzzle was about to be placed. James McCready Houston Jr., who had been declared killed in action while serving as an aviator aboard the Natoma Bay during the Battle of Iwo Jima in March 1945. A military after-action report confirms it. The only detail that seemingly didn't fit was that he was shot down while piloting an FM-2 Wildcat, not a Corsair, the plane that had been so vividly seen in young James's dreams. However, later evidence would show that Houston had indeed piloted Corsairs earlier in the war. Accounts would also show that Houston's fighter plane had indeed been on fire and sank into the sea, according to eyewitness statements from Jack Larson at the time, thus proving young James's visions to be true. Houston had presumably been alive after his plane was hit and was unable to eject from his aircraft, entombed within his burning plane, unable to kick the canopy open and escape as it sank into the ocean, sealing his fate to a watery grave.
Jeez.
Sometime later, the young James was also able to recognize a fellow serviceman of Houston's by hearing his voice only, as the man had aged more than 50 years and was now quite old. James was able to correctly identify this man by simply hearing his voice, with no prior knowledge of this person. This was during a reunion of veterans of the Natoma Bay that the child, along with his father, were invited to. The man, Bob Greenwalt, was obviously surprised, but delighted. He, along with many other veterans, commented at the time that young James Leininger bore an uncanny resemblance to the man they knew during the war, James Houston. In addition, James Houston's sister was in attendance at the reunion. She had been introduced as Anne. Incredibly, young James was able to say her name wasn't Anne, it's Annie, and that he had had an older sister, Ruth. In addition to numerous other details about James Houston's childhood, his other childhood. Young James would continue having visions, mostly on the anniversary of Houston's death, and had two more incredibly startling revelations. One, he had specifically chosen his parents as the ones he had wanted to be with when he was reincarnated. And two, that his G.I. Joes that he had played with for his entire childhood, whom he had named Billy, Walter, and Leon, had been named for a reason. Wow. When his parents asked why, what is the reason, the young James said, because that's who met me when I got to heaven. The toy soldiers were named after James Houston's real-life friends, Leon Connor, Walter Devlin, and Billy Peeler, who would all die while serving on the Natoma Bay together during World War II. James, now a young adult, has let his past life go and is seemingly at peace with both his former self, his present, and his future. He has made the journey to pay respects to the final resting place of James Houston, and perhaps that's all his past self wanted, to be remembered and not forgotten, and to show us that there may very well be life after death.
I'm very proud of
the true cycle of life that is never broken, and that we go on.
Have you ever looked into the butterfly people of Joplin? I've never heard of the butterfly people of Joplin. Oh, why did I do that? The butterfly people of Joplin. Yes, I have looked into the butterfly people. The butterfly people. 1988.
That's exactly why I married her.
So we have a pretty large gap.
That's exactly why I married her.
We got
I'm hilarious. I'm hilarious. What up, Derek?
Today I'm gonna beat a box of chalk
Eat
with
a
this
box
shovel
of
here.
What up, teacher? What up, classmates? Watching your videos. Yeah, brother.
Anyway,
The sun is a deadly laser.
See next time. Let's go now. Bye.
This freaking guy. This freaking guy. That freaking guy. Oh, you know what I should probably do? Let's see. Did you guys see my new video? You guys should see my latest short. It's funny. I'll let you guys wait to see it so you guys can have a beautiful experience. Declassified CIA documents reveal a secret study that appears to confirm reincarnation is a real thing that exists. So if you're talking about the saltwater antenna study, that we're basically saltwater antennas, and our DNA basically picks up a frequency that people are picking up on that are in, and then when those people die, other people will be born with those same antenna structures, that basically pick that up and put that person back in that consciousness. What's up, Andy? What a great story. I remember hearing it before. Yeah, it is a good story. Yeah, it is a really good story. It's cool that all the old folks from World War II, weren't like, no, this ain't possible. Brother Male Rapunzel, don't give me a cast iron pan. Yeah, she definitely is a government spy. Not sure if you swung a shovel at me, bro. Special agent woman. Special agent, man. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. All right, where are we at? Okay, back to this.
The preferred tow aircraft was the Lockheed Model 18 Lodestar and later military transport aircraft such as the Curtiss C-46 Commando and Douglas C-47 Skytrain. The program suffered a major disaster during early testing on the 11th of September 1943 at March Field. During a demonstration flight, poorly secured ballast shifted after turbulence from the tow aircraft disrupted the glider. The sudden center of gravity change caused the MC-1 to enter an uncontrollable flat spin after release from tow.
Jeez.
Several people jumped from the aircraft, but only 2 survived. The crash seriously damaged confidence in the project, though the United States Army Air Forces still authorized construction of full prototypes. 2 XCG-16 prototypes were eventually completed and tested in October 1944 at Clinton County Army Airfield. Pilots praised the glider's aerodynamic efficiency, stability, and relatively short landing distance. However, testing also revealed critical weaknesses. Cockpit visibility was extremely poor because the pilots sat high above the wide fuselage. Large control forces made maneuvering difficult, especially during combat operations. Uneven cargo loading produced dangerous rolling moments, and the slow manual deployment of landing devices was considered unacceptable in wartime conditions. Military evaluators also worried that damage to the nose section during rough landings would block cargo unloading. By late 1944, the United States Army Air Forces concluded that the aircraft's disadvantages outweighed its advantages.
Back in the day.
The service preferred the more conventional Waco CG-13A, which was simpler, cheaper, and easier to operate in combat. Funding for the XCG-16 program ended in November 1944, and no production order followed. Although the XCG-16 disappeared before reaching operational service, its design remains historically important.
That's historic.
The aircraft demonstrated early practical use of lifting body principles decades before similar ideas appeared in advanced experimental aircraft and spacecraft research.
It's definitely
Aviation historians still consider the XCG-16 one of the boldest and most unconventional American glider projects of World War
I
II.
ain't had sushi in a couple of months. Absolutely. Sushi. All right, scrolled on Pinterest earlier, found out the sculptor of the bean in Chicago has beef with another artist over pigments. How dare she? A bean sculptor. My skin is sensitive. Be careful. All right, everyone. I love you all. I'm going to bed. I'll see you guys and girls tomorrow. Take a second and watch my short that I made before I went live. It's pretty. All right, check it out. I love you all. Bye-bye.